I've seen a lot of comments about it, so today we'll be making a brand new tier list, ranking every meta unit in Anime Last Stand, as of the Galbi Chainsaw Man update. Keep in mind the rankings in this video are just my opinion, so take everything with a grain of salt. I still hope you enjoy the video or find it helpful. If you do, maybe leave a like or subscribe. But anyways, let's get into it. So for the rankings today, we'll be using the same ones as always. We have Meta Overall, Meta Infinite, Meta Early, Support, Decent, and Farms. Starting off with the Chainsaw Man units, we have Rize, and Rize is going in decent. She's pretty okay. She has Detonation, which is pretty good after the rework. Her damage is just alright on placement, not too crazy. And then she can be good for infinites for crowd control damage, a lot of AoE stuff going on with enemy explosions, and a cool ability, but not that good for progressive. Euro I'd say is actually better than Rize. She has access to a bunch of different stats effects like Bleed, Mutilate, Hemorrhage, Cripple, Weaken, a bunch of different stuff going for her. Pretty good damage too. Katana Devil, not very good. This guy's going in decent and pretty mid. The Devil Evo of Power, actually pretty good. Definitely going in meta early. She has a lot of different stuff with Bleed, Mutilate, Hemorrhage, and then a pretty strong nuke as well. And she's not too crazy. There are definitely better meta early options. Makima going in meta infinite for sure. She's also kind of a support, but like not too crazy of one. She's a kind of small buff. Pretty much she can control other units, which makes them do a little bit more damage, and she gains a passive for their element. She has a bunch of different nuke damage abilities that are very strong, like trillions of damage. Very good for infinites right now. Aki, also very good for infinites. This guy has a passive where he can kind of stun the enemies and have a chance to one-shot them. So anything that can kind of one-shot is always going to be infinite reliant, infinite meta. But progressive, he's not too crazy. Denji's actually really good, meta overall. One of the best units in the game right now. His bleed is actually pretty good because there's a bleed meta going on. His damage is really good. He has access to a bunch of different stats effects with Hemorrhage, Dismantle, Bleed, Mutilate, and Despair with his 50% of his bar. Overall, very, very solid, and he is full AoE on final upgrade. Kefla is definitely going meta overall. She can get to crazy damage if you charge her up, and she doesn't take that long to get to a good form. She's actually pretty okay for progressive. This guy was a Infinite Castle unit. He's not that good. If he hits something that's bleeding, he does his own little bleed thing that does a good amount of damage, but nothing too crazy. Kinshiro is actually pretty okay. I'd say probably above Katana Demon. He's just kind of a crit unit. He has very high crit scaling. Meliodas is a very strong unit. He is both a buffer and just a pretty strong damage early dark unit. He's pretty cheap. He has Despair, a bunch of different passives that he can trigger from a Wrath bar. And he also has a nuke that will actually scale off your teammates' damage, so he can be very good for doing like 10 times your strongest unit's damage in his range. Meta overall for sure. Buddha is kind of a niche support. He's going to be like, the more he gets buffed, the more he buffs other people. So if you use him with a bunch of other buffing supports, like an infinite run, he can be pretty okay. Otherwise, his damage is pretty minimal. He's not too great, and he's just used for his 5% damage and crit chance buff when he gets buffed by something else. Angel, definitely going meta infinite. Very good unit. He does a lot of damage. He's got very strong nukes. He does up to like 35 chill, I think. He's just very expensive and takes a while to max out his passive, so infinite only pretty much. Not that good for progressive. Hikari is good for everything. If you roll his Pachinko buff or whatever, his ability, he can get very strong damage, very high crit damage and everything. If you run him with like Garo lead, he's very strong, and he's pretty cheap. He can be a starter unit. Definitely meta overall. Toji, kind of decent. He has a bunch of different weapons he rotates between, but his damage is just not that great, even with bleed and hemorrhage. I mean, he's okay. Going towards the top of decent, but just kind of alright. Gilgamesh, right now in my opinion, still the best unit in the game. Between him and his summon Enkodo, they have a lot of different options. Gilgamesh does a ton of DPS, he's got nuke abilities, he's very strong. Enkodo is very good for support with the random passive, a bunch of different stats effects. Both of them are very strong. Gilgamesh is a little bit expensive, but best for like everything right now. Caster Saber's an okay buffer. I do think I probably ranked her too high in the past. She's just kind of like an okay magic damage buffer, and she's alright. Sakura, meta overall for sure. Cheap unit, good enough for progressive, and also good for infinites because she can buff other units' damage by a lot. If you have a bunch of buffing support units with her, she can do a ton of damage and full AoE every second, so definitely meta overall. Ishtar going in meta early for sure. Probably right above power. She is like 900 placement, very good damage, and then she does have like a bar that she builds up where she gains even more damage in range. She does have a strong nuking ability that she gets access to pretty early, so very good. Medusa is an okay support. At final attack, she gains full AoE, Petrified, and Petrified is one of the best aspects in the game. It's a very long stun, and she does very good damage as well. She does good enough damage to maybe even be like top of decent low meta overall, but I'd put her in support because that's most of her value. So he's probably the worst unit on the list, but He does have a stunning passive, he's hybrid on placement, he's like okay for beginner players, but he's the last battle pass unit. Phaeton, the way he works is he's going to, I believe it was, if he hits something that's burning, he bleeds it. It might be the other way around, but he's kind of like a burn, bleed unit, pretty okay. He does have a nuke. Tengen, underrated unit in my opinion. He is going to be full AoE with Weekend and Bolt, very good on Bolt teams, but overall it's kind of okay. Situationally can be really good, but put him right here in decent. Shisui is a support, pretty good one. He has like a follow-up attack thing, he can increase the damage of the strongest thing in his range. It doesn't have the best like personal stats, though, just support, not meta overall. Noelle, okay. I previously had this unit as like a water support, she was kind of a water buffer. But she is kind of the only like early water unit as well for progressive. There is no like good water starter besides maybe Rimuru, maybe Gohan, maybe Isagi, but I'd say she's meta early, she's like the best water starter with her divine boost right now, and put her probably at the top of it here. Yuno, also meta early. He is a nature starter. He can buff Asta to do extra damage to water enemies. He can slow on placement, and I think he has a bug where he kind of buffs people right now. I'm not sure. But he is definitely meta early. Pretty good damage and support there. Julius is just kind of okay. I think he's probably meta infinite. He has a 7.5 trillion nuke. It takes a while to charge up though, so he's pretty good for progressive. He has a support ability passive thing where he's going to like spam a bunch of effects on them. He can freeze, he can rewind them back. He can make them walk faster sometimes. I don't know, he's a bunch of random stuff going on. So he can be a support, he can be kind of decent for progressive, but overall meta infinite and going bottom of it for now. Conrad, I'd say same thing. He has a bunch of different passives that can be okay for progressive, like freezing them, and he has like Blizzard, Bolt, all that different stuff. But overall, definitely an infinite unit with his nuking ability. Takes a while to build it up. Bone Demon, meta early for sure. Costs like 1k to place. He does very good damage on placement. He has Cripple, Hemorrhage, Bleed, Pressure. He has access to all of them on placement, so very good. I'd put him probably at the top of our options for now. Asta is going meta overall for sure. Right below Meliodas in my opinion. Madoka, meta overall, but not too high in it. She is a pretty strong infinite nuker and does okay, cheap hybrid damage, but she's just kind of alright. Sukuna is definitely meta overall as well. Mostly an infinite unit, but can be used as progressive because he is full AoE hybrid on placement, so pretty okay. Esdeath, actually a very good unit, could be even bottom of meta overall, top of decent. Full AoE Blizzard, very good DPS, and also a buffing passive that's going to buff a random unit in her range. Pucci, also a support. He's full AoE pressure with a rewind and ability resetting ability. I'd put him probably like right here. He's not seeing much use anymore. He's an infinite support that's very good for resetting abilities, but kind of falling off for like progressive support. Kashimo is definitely meta overall. Very good unit with Bolt. Bolt can be very strong. He is cheap, does good damage. Okay for infinites because he has a nuking ability. He's just overall very, very good. Yeto, meta infinite for sure. Not very good for progressive, but he does have good summoning and good nuking for infinite, so put him probably right here in meta infinite. The Immortal King, I'd also put him in meta infinite. He can kind of map wipe with one of his nukes. It does like 60 guaranteed kills on everything and has a rewind, a reset. Very good abilities for that. His progressive damage is not too good though, so meta infinite. Water Shinra, meta overall. Very good damage on placement. He has Blizzard, he buffs water units. He can be okay in the right team, like very, very strong. I'd put him probably right here meta overall. Fire Shinra, same thing, can also be very meta in the right team. He's going to buff burn and do very good damage himself. Meta overall and right about here. Anos is an infinite unit pretty much only. He just has like 7 different nukes he can cycle through that do increasingly better damage from his nuke. Like if you get the 7th one, it's very, very strong. Meta infinite unit for sure, but takes a while to ramp up. Going like right here for now. Dark Shinra, okay. This guy can be a good support because he has Despair, but because we have a lot of different options with Despair now, like we have Meliodas and Yuta and Death the Kid, a bunch of different options for Despair now. He's not too crazy as a support, he's just kind of okay. And he can be good with the right team. If you pair him with like Guts for example, he can get stunned and do nuke damage. Or I put him probably right here in support. Chihiro, perfect seal unit, ground only, has a bunch of different stats effects. He does become hybrid conditionally. When his hemorrhage passive hits stuff, it can hit flying enemies. So definitely top of decent for perfect seal, he's good for progressive. Benimaru, progressive unit, meta early, but kind of falling off, is a fire starter, hybrid with Sunburn. He can be okay, he has Black Flame and perfect SPA on it. With damage SPA tree, he is alright. Arthur going meta infinite for sure. He is okay for progressive as well. Most of his value comes from his abilities now that are, I think, like guaranteed one-shot nukes, which are kind of crazy, but yeah, I'd put him right here for now. Neutral Shinra, also an infinite unit. He has a rewind and nuke. It does a couple trillion damage. I'd put him honestly above Anos. The rewind or ability reset is very good. Judge Guy, also kind of a support. He has Exhausted, I think it's called, or Extinguished. He applies Extinguished, which he has like a pretty good uptime on it. I think 50% uptime. It does take a little bit to ramp up, but pretty good support option. Kirito, okay. I personally don't like this guy. A lot of people got mad at me because I didn't put him in meta early. I still don't think he's that good. I think he can maybe be in meta early and maybe like right here. Think about Kirito. Yes, he's good against dark enemies, okay? Because he has like 4 times extra damage against them. But against anything else, he's not that good. He needs to take time to ramp up for his passive to really kick in and do good DPS. This guy's an okay meta early unit for dark enemies only, but otherwise he's not that good. Quincy King, he is a good support, top of the options we have right now. He has better fear for AoE, and a nuking ability, and a buffing range and damage ability, or passive. Yuta has his Rika summon for Despair, and he has access to cripple on placement, weakened on final upgrade, very good damage and very good nuking, overall, meta overall unit for sure, very good. And I put him above Meliodas honestly, I put him below Meliodas before, but definitely above. Death the Kid, meta early for sure, very good. If you roll his Madness form, which is a 35% chance and not that hard, he is going to have Despair and very good damage. Very good. If you don't have another Despair unit, he is definitely can be crazy. Nature Shinra, infinite unit. He has a chance to one-shot stuff every 5 attacks, and then he does have full AoE, Wind Shear, and Slow, I think. But he does have a nuke as well, which does percent base damage. Pretty good for infinites, and I'd put him right here in meta infinite for sure. Maki, okay. I know a lot of people don't understand where this is coming from. You gotta watch my video on her if you want to understand how good this unit is, probably. Or use her for yourself. This unit is definitely top of meta early. She has Mutilate on placement, which is very, very good. She has crazy DPS. She can shred through things that are usually hard for any other meta early unit. Could be meta overall, arguably, but I'd say overall meta early in most cases. Fusa Zamasu. Okay, Fusa Zamasu I'd put in meta infinite. He has infinitely scaling damage, kind of, every wave, but it's not very good. Gon is pretty much the same unit, but worse. He's the exact same gimmick. They gain damage every wave. Unohana, okay, Unohana is actually a pretty good support now because we have a bleed meta going on with Denji and Power and all the bleeding Chainsaw Man units we got. So she's a pretty good buffer. She buffs bleed by like up to 50% I think with both of her passives active. And can be very good. Can be situationally very, very good. Luffy. Sadly, a godly that is not that good, getting outdated. He does have full AoE Conquered and a Conquered equivalent passive that's a little bit stronger. He does also have a pretty good godly lead and a nuking ability, but overall going in decent. He's not too crazy. He definitely needs a rework. He's falling off compared to other godly options. Ichigo. This is a godly that did get a rework. This guy is very good. He got reworked a few updates ago, and I honestly underestimated him. I do think he's probably top of meta overall, close to it. He's... okay. He can be good for progressive. He is a good early unit, kind of. I do think Maki is way better. Death the Kid can be better as well, and Bone Demon also can be better. For meta early specifically, I'd put him probably like right here or here, but most of his value, in my opinion, comes after he ramps up. If you get his passives ramped up, he does a lot of damage, so like halfway through a progressive mode, like wave 5 or something, that's when he starts to become crazy. Very, very good. For infinites, he can do billions of damage if he has elemental advantage. Overall, just a crazy unit. Sun Jinwoo. Sun Jinwoo meta overall, but kind of falling off. He is going to be a summoning unit, and he also has a nuking ability that's not that strong. I think it's like 20 bill. He's okay for progressive, kind of, but probably going here for now. Leafa is a buffer, has a 10% SPA reduction and wind shear and a nature buff. She did get patched recently. She was bugged to kind of infinitely reduce SPA, but that got patched, so she's not that crazy. Put her right here in support. Isagi, okay, Isagi I think is really good for support. He has pretty much his ability is a countdown. If the unit gets 25 kills within that time, it keeps a permanent 50% damage buff, I think, which is very, very good. Overall, with the introduction of none targeting, he can be very strong. I'd put him probably right below Shisui in support here. Goku. Goku is meta overall for sure, very good water damage unit. He can be very strong, especially if you pair him with Gohan to buff him. Goku has a very strong nuke as well, overall good for everything. Dio. Towards the top of support, very good for SPA reduction and time stop, keeping enemies in check. His personal damage is not too crazy, but he does have very good supporting value. Cosmic Garo, okay. People don't understand how good this guy is. I do think Denji and Gilgamesh are better. The thing about Cosmic Garo, his placement damage is good, okay. His infinite cosmic mode is good for like a nuke, guaranteed one-shot a boss or something, up to 5 billion damage per hit as well. But most of his value comes from his godly lead, which is going to be a 50% crit chance buff and 50% crit damage buff. You can get up to perfect SPA on that pretty much. You can get 3.05 SPA on him on placement and have pretty much 100% uptime on that buff, which is very, very good. With certain crit builds, he's very, very good. Garo is crazy meta overall for sure. His buff is insane. Tatsumaki, meta early. She has up to an 80% slow, I think, if a bunch of enemies are in her range. Very good. Her damage is kind of falling off now. Ryuk, meta infinite. He has a chance to one-shot everything, every attack. Everything he hits, he can kind of one-shot. I put him right here in meta infinite. Saitama can execute anything that is below 33% health, I think, 33% HP. So very good for infinite runs for sure. Pride is just kind of a burn buffer. He buffs burn, he does good burn damage himself, kind of. Full AoE. His placement damage is good for 3.75k. He's a good fire option, but otherwise I do think he's kind of falling off. DPS Kurumi kind of falling off as well, going indecent. She does okay damage if you ramp up both her passives, but they take a while. She does have a 90-second time stop though. The support mode of Kurumi is definitely a meta infinite unit, full AoE, chance to kill everything she attacks, kind of like Shinra. Albedo is going to be an okay support. She is I think like a 30% damage buff, but also a 50% range reduction for units in her range. Buff mode of Kurumi is also a support. She's going to buff damage and crit chance by a bit. She does have a supporting ability as well with 90-second time stop. Subaru is also a support. He has a 30% damage buff with 50% uptime, I think. He can be very good, but overall, probably right here. Erwin, better damage buffer than Subaru. She's kind of a good damage buffer. Giorno, I'd say meta infinite. He has a rewind ability that can be very good for making enemies take more damage. Put him right here. Gogeta, also a meta infinite unit. He has, I think, a nuke that does 60% of boss's HP, the strongest enemy on the map. Can be very good in infinite runs, pretty much only. Not very good for progressive anymore. Put him right here. Madara has a rewind ability and a nuke that is just kind of okay. Put him right here in meta infinite. Naruto is just a damage and range buffer, overhead 15% damage and 10% range, I think. Put him right here. Goku Black, okay meta early unit. He can be a good dark option. He has a bunch of clones. If they ramp up, he can do really good. But on placement alone, he's just kind of okay in meta early. Rimuru. Rimuru is going in decent for sure. Rimuru is one of the few cheap hybrid water options on placement, so he is actually pretty good for that. But for the most part, he is just kind of okay and decent tier here. He is full AoE with the Weekend on Final Upgrade and does have a nuke that does okay damage. Zamasu is a meta infinite unit for sure. The unboosted form is actually better than the boosted form, because it's going to do percent base damage to bosses in his range with his nuke. Yujo, also meta infinite and towards the top of it. Tons of raw damage, has crazy time stop and nuking abilities. Very, very good. He takes a lot of units to kind of ramp him up and get him going. So infinite only pretty much. Yuji. Yuji definitely meta overall. He can be alright for just raw damage, meta overall. Gojo, also meta overall, kind of as a support though. He has a bubble around him that's going to be like slowing the enemies down. He does pretty good damage on placement and also has a time stopping ability and a nuking ability. Meta overall and probably right about here. Light form of Shinra, also meta overall, very good for just raw damage, tons of bolt damage there. I think he's the highest DPS form of Shinra, if you run him in the right team. But I put him right here in meta overall. Baldi Garo, I definitely overrated him before, he's not that good. He just has a nuke that like kind of scales off his damage, which his damage does ramp up quite a bit. But he's not very good for anything, really. I recommend choosing the Cosmic mode over anything. Wukong, pretty good godly. He does really good DPS if you get all his clones going. He's a bolt unit, so he can do really good DPS, but when paired with the right team, kind of like a light Shinra. And he does have a very good godly lead for nuke buffing. Aizen, okay. Aizen, I would say, maybe meta overall-able. Like, he could be meta overall, but his DPS is kind of falling off a little bit. You don't want to use him for his damage. I'd say mostly a support, with his abilities and passives here, making enemies take more damage, top of support tier. Kaido also going in support for his Dazed passive, which is actually not that bad. Has like 40% uptime on a stun that makes him take more crit damage. I put him probably right behind Death there in support. Beast Gohan is a decent unit. He's kind of an early water starter. I put him in decent right here above Astolfo. And then finally, Guts is just kind of a full AoE hemorrhage and bleed unit, I think. He just does okay damage. He does have the only passive in the game that can stun other units in his range. So, I think we're done with the tier list now. Those are all the rankings. They look pretty good to me. Sorry if I kind of talk weird in this video. I know what's up with my voice recently. I've been kind of losing my voice this morning, but hopefully it's not too bad. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. A lot of you guys always ask for these tier list videos, so I want to hear what you guys think. If these are helpful to you, or if you're really mad at these rankings or something. I don't know. I think they're pretty good, pretty alright. Anyways, thank you to my channel members for making this video possible. You guys are the best. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Hope to see you in the next one. Have a great day.